Hey folks, Colin here from Sumthins Recording, and today I want to show you one trick for getting wider guitars. We're going to be going over widening guitars today, but before we dive in, if you are ready to go a little bit deeper into the mixing process in its entirety and really start to hone your workflow as an engineer, then I have just the thing for you. It is my 7-step mixing checklist, and it's just a simple PDF that will walk you through the entire mixing process, step by step, to help you get professional and radio-ready mixes without any more of the hassle and without any more of the guesswork. It is a completely free guide, and you can download it below using the link in the video description. Now let's talk about getting some wider guitars. This process can work on electric guitars as well as acoustic guitars. It can even work on stereo banjos or stereo mandolin or something like that. We're looking at electric guitars. It probably works best on electric guitars. Usually I like processing acoustic guitars together. It just gives some kind of cohesiveness to a stereo pair of acoustic guitars. But electric guitars, a lot of times it works better to do a little bit different processing on each one to widen them out a little bit and give them a little bit of difference in the stereo spectrum. So let me play you what these electric guitars sound like at the moment. So these are the raw recorded tracks for these electric guitars here. You can see there's no processing on them, no sends or anything as well. So here's our electric guitars in this mix. So they're big, beefy, thick electric guitars, but we need to widen them out a little bit. It kind of feels like they're etching towards the middle, like they're blending into one sound, right? Because they are the same electric guitar tone on both sides. It's just double-tracked electric guitar all the way through this mix here, all the way through this song. So what we're going to do is we're going to EQ each guitar slightly differently and emphasize some opposite frequencies to help give them a little bit of differentiation and help them stick out a little bit further on each side. So we're going to start here with the left guitar, and we'll go back into mono. Oh, they're grouped, so let me turn off my group here. If you don't know how to ungroup things in Studio One, it's Command-Shift-G. Same way Command-G is to create groups. So if you highlight tracks in Command-G, you'll create a group. And if you click on a track in that group in Command-Shift-G, you'll dissolve the group there. So we're going to flip to mono here. So we're not dealing with a guitar all the way out to the side. We're going to start with our left guitar here. I'm going to pull in an EQ, and we're going to get to work on this guitar here. So somewhere around here is where I'd probably sit if I was EQing both guitars together, right? Throw in my high pass filter, make sure we're not getting too much down into that sub area around the 80, 70, 60 hertz, that kind of stuff. We don't need all of that low end coming from our electric guitars. We want to leave room for our bass and for our kick drum, for things like that. I'd probably pull out a little bit of the low mid area here around 280, 300. So we've got about a 3 dB cut there. And then emphasizing some of the mid-range. Mid-range is always what you're selling on electric guitars, especially big rock electric guitars like this. And then a little bit in the high mids here, so almost 4K, 3.5K, just to give some of that high mid bite. And then rolling off some of the top end to get rid of some of that noise, that white noise we're getting on the top end there. But We're going to do a little bit different on each guitar here. So I'm going to tweak this to suit the left electric guitar, and then we'll move over to our right electric guitar. So this is what I'm deciding on here for the left electric guitar. Now, one thing I might want to consider here is maybe turning off this low pass filter. So you can see what we're doing here. We're leaving some of the lower end in here, pulling out some of the low mids, boosting some mid-range here around 700 here, pulling out some of that 1.5, and then boosting some of the top end or the high mid area here around 3.5K. And then I left the top end in here. Now we're going to flip over here to our right guitar, and we're going to do something a little bit different to kind of oppose the EQ that we did on our other guitar here. And this is where we're going to get our differences by having a little bit slightly different EQ on each side. So first things first here on this guitar, we're going to take some of that low end out. We're going to take a little bit more low end out, and we're going to leave the low mid area in on this guitar. So swapping those frequencies there. Let's keep moving up into the high mids here. Again, we're doing the opposite here as our other guitar. So pulling out some of that 700 hertz area and boosting some of this 1.5K area. So swapping those a little bit here. So emphasizing some higher mid-range there rather than we did on the other guitar. Let's move up to the top end. So pull that mid-range up a little bit higher to compensate for the top end that we're cutting on this guitar. So look at how we're doing opposite moves here. So here's our right guitar, and here's our left guitar here. So if we're looking at each one, we're doing opposite cuts on each one. So leaving a little bit more of the low end in here and cutting some low mids, leaving our low mids in here and cutting some of the low end. Then moving up into our mid-range here, we're pulling up some 700. Here we're cutting some 700. We're cutting some 1.5. Boosting a ton of 1.5 here, boosting some 3.5K, cutting some 3.5K, and then rolling off some top end in here. We're leaving the top end in. So we have opposite cuts here, but when we put them together, they're gonna fit together kind of like puzzle pieces, right? So we have cuts and we have boosts on the other one that are gonna kind of go together to complement each other really, really well here. So let's throw in both guitars now and take a listen to how they're sitting together inside, or just not inside the mix, just with each other here. So we're still cleaning up both guitars, right? You notice if I turn on and off these EQs, we're still getting rid of what we don't need, getting rid of the mud, getting rid of that super, super heavy low end there, and getting some nice crispiness up on top. But hear how they fit together like puzzle pieces now? Now, the big reveal here is when we flip to stereo here, listen to how wide they sound in stereo. This technique here is called EQ carving. So what we're doing here on each guitar is we're making room for the other guitar. So here again, here's our right guitar and here's our left guitar. We're doing complementary cuts and complementary boosts on each guitar so they fit together and they don't have so much of the sameness to them. When they have all that sameness, they start to etch towards the middle a little bit and feel a little bit more narrow. Once we click in this complementary processing where we have boosts on one and cuts on the other, suddenly they have a little bit of difference to them and they push farther out towards the sides. That's how we're getting wider guitars here. I hope that was helpful for you. As I mentioned at the beginning of the video, if you are ready to take your mixes to the next level and really start dialing in your workflow as an engineer, then I have just the tool for you, and it is completely free. It is my 7-step mixing checklist, and you can download it below to start creating more professional mixes in less time. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.